Greetings, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Poly Weekly News, our live show that we bring to you every Monday with lots of guests. I'm your host, David Nanto. I'm your host for this week. I'm definitely producing the show going forward, but we're going to have a whole bunch of hosts coming and joining the show in the very near future, which I'm very excited about sharing some of the attention with my Poly colleagues. So my guest today is a good friend of mine. We have Colby Nish on from Zoom, and we're going to talk about Zoom Phone and the success of Zoom and some of the other things that are going on. And then a little bit later on in the show, we have a wonderful interview with my friends and colleagues, Sanal Bisht and Estelle Jackson, around International Women's Days that just passed. But for now, let's have a quick chat about Zoom Phone. Zoom Phone is just an unbelievable success story. Colby, I'll ask you, just recently we passed the 3-year mark, right? In around in December time, 3-year anniversary, and the numbers and the metrics are just amazing, aren't they?
They sure are. And just first, David, it's a pleasure to be here with you and on Weekly News. Great to see you, my friend, and really looking forward to spending some time together next week at Enterprise Connect.
Yeah, can't wait.
Wow, we're back in person. This will be amazing. But yes, Zoom Phone has just been on a stellar ride. It's been 3 years in December of once we introduced the product, and some may have remembered that at Zoomtopia back then when we just had dial tone and some voicemail. We've come a long ways. We did surpass 1 million seats in 7 quarters, which was the fastest of anybody in the UCaaS market. Took us another 2 quarters, past another million, and we've just been on tear ever since then. So look forward to sharing more about Zoom Phone success with you through our time today.
Yeah. So why do you think it's taken off the way it has? I mean, there have been plenty of telephony products, services, offerings in the industry that have been around that just haven't had this kind of hockey stick approach. What's different about Zoom Phone? Why is it something that's taken off so well?
Love that question, David. I think a lot of it is the stars aligned. When you think about what happened in the market of people being ready to move the workload of phone going to the cloud, a lot of people are hesitant. And we have seen, even before the pandemic, the trajectory of Zoom meetings really taking off. But when you get back down to why Zoom and then why Zoom Phone, you think about the platform that Eric built. You go back 10 years and focus on video first. And we joke at times with customers or partners, if you turn off my video right now, you're using Zoom Phone. It is the same codec. It's the same platform. It's not a bolt-in on top of it. And that intuitiveness and it just works experience from Zoom meetings is what customers love. And so we've really seen, this promise of UCaaS coming to fruition now, where I really can move those workloads together onto one platform. And customers, they're looking to reduce costs. They're looking to have a better experience for themselves and for their end users. And they need the features. And we've been able to execute and develop and deliver those features for customers. And that's proven out to the market share and the amazing customers that we have on the platform.
So you mentioned Zoom Video, Zoom noun, Zoom verb. I won't get into that again.
Yeah.
And you mentioned my good friend Eric Yuan, who we gave an award to before all of this took off at the IMCCA. Tell us how that's, and I don't want you to be a numbers geek, but tell us about your recent earnings report, how all of that has translated into the way the market has now received what's going on with Zoom, especially during and after this pandemic.
Well, yeah, speaking of Eric, that's really where it starts. When you think about the platform he built, but I think what a lot of people don't realize about Zoom, and it was one of the things for me joining Zoom, I really didn't appreciate the time, was the focus on customer happiness. Eric really drives from that stance of delivering customer happiness. We have been lucky enough to bring over the most amazing team. My team, they're literally the best of the best, and they're focused on customer happiness. So that is a guiding principle. It is truly a differentiator from what you experience from other companies. And you package that on top of the amazing product, the best platform, good things happen. And so when you look at our earnings announcement, we announced some really amazing numbers, 21% quarter-over-quarter growth. We were over 50% year-over-year growth. We continue to add to those customers that are spending over $100,000 ARR with us, which is just an amazing number of large enterprises. And we announced 4 really big customers, customers like Arizona State, Lixil, Medtronic. We announced, couldn't share the name, but a very leading global bank finance customer. And several other large Fortune 500 customers have moved to the platform that we're incredibly humble and proud to be working with. On top of that, we announced 550 seats of Zoom Phone sold last quarter. So it is a torrid pace of people adopting cloud and moving to Zoom Phone for that one platform approach.
So tell me a little bit about how great we are.
Yeah,
no other way to say that exactly. But Poly has been a partner with Zoom since the beginning, since Zoom launched its video, since Zoom launched its appliances, since soft phones, desk phones, the lines of phones that we have, the VVX, the CCX, our new Edge B series, the certification for Zoom program. We're really going hand in hand through all this. That must help in terms of customers and clients that I personally know that feel a lot more comfortable with Zoom recommending Poly and Poly recommending Zoom in the appropriate cases.
You guys have been the best partner from the beginning, as you mentioned. So as much as we'd love people adopting Zoom, and it's an interesting one where a lot of customers think it's a soft phone only approach, but we support over 80 different handset devices. You guys are closing in on 40 devices from Poly, and you were there from the very beginning. When we look at the VVX product line, we've added the CCX, we've added Rove, we add all the headsets and devices that are out there. And customers, they're different personas, different environments that they work inside, and it's not a soft phone only environment. And what's been interesting is it's not just a handset that has dial tone. You and us together, we have developed very unique features that deliver what those customers need, whether it's a delegate, it's a knowledge worker, you need to see those busy lamp fields and those line appearances. Those are all there, exactly what you're used to. And then I'm really excited when we start talking about the Zoom Phone appliance on the CCX, of really taking that to the next level of usability and simplicity for our end users using Poly devices.
Yeah, now we have a couple of videos to roll into the show today. The first one here is actually, I think it is with that CCX, right? I think it's the CCX 700. Your colleague, my friend Mark Barragan, talks a little bit about how it works and how this is all kind of one cohesive solution, not just a standalone product. Can I just roll that one and we'll talk about it afterwards?
Yeah, I'd love to. Let's see it.
So with Zoom Phone, I have a lot of cool capabilities as well. So I'm going to actually take out my device right now and open up my Zoom client. And what I'm going to do over here is I'm actually going to go ahead and hot desk now. So the cool thing with hot desking is once I hot desk to this device over here, you're going to notice that right here on the fly, it mirrors. So I'm getting an incoming call, both my client on my phone and my CCX device right here. Now I don't want to use this, right? I actually did a hot desk here. So I could talk to Felipe now on the fly. And so this is really cool what I just did. Just like that, hot desk right here to the phone, this Poly CCX device. Now I am in that open environment again. So what if I want to get into a quiet environment? So behind me, there's phone booths. And the cool thing here is I can actually transfer this call to one of the phone booths. So when I do that, I'm simply going to go and find the room that I want to transfer to. And when I do that, I'm going to go and transfer the call. So now I can get some privacy. So how cool is this? On the fly, I walk over here, accept the call. I started with my phone, hot desking, answered the call out there in the open environment. Now I'm over here in a private room. And you know what? Guess what? This Poly device, really cool, has a camera. So why not take advantage of that camera? So what I'm going to do over here is simply go ahead and escalate this call all the way to video. And what's happening in the background is Felipe, my colleague, is actually getting the invite for video. Felipe, how's it going? So just like that, Felipe now has joined us. And he's on video, and we just started that with the Zoom phone call, right? This is all just seamless the way it transitions over. We don't have to do a bunch of on-prem software upgrades to do this. This is all just our cloud-based Zoom phone technology that's going to help you guys return to the office in a much more efficient way. Bye, Felipe.
David, so many amazing features our teams have built right there. One of the ones that jump out at me is if you're using Zoom on your desktop or on your mobile device, you're very used to that experience. It's very simple, it's intuitive. You move that to that Zoom phone appliance right there. If you notice, it looks exactly the same. It's really simple. You see all of your meetings right there. One single click, I'm right into a meeting. And that device, as you saw Mark finish at the end, really blurs that line between, is this a phone or is it a Zoom room? And it really is running a fair amount of the Zoom room code into it. Doesn't require, an additional Zoom room license. But allows me as an end user, if you notice, walk into one of those quiet rooms, those huddle spaces that many times those do not have a video device. Now I have a private location with all the Zoom Room features on that device. Allows me to be very productive in a video first world that we're in right now.
Yeah, and it stresses, and I don't want to be hackneyed about it, but we talk about this hybrid working world. You and I were chatting a little bit last week offline about what we were going to talk about on the show today, and you had sent me one of your messages, and that message came through on my mobile phone, on my Zoom client, and it's like, what, I could type the answer to you if it was a yes or no, but it was a little longer than that, so I came down to my desk and I just picked it up from here. We're actually on a Zoom call now. That's how I'm communicating with you. It just works. And this is from somebody who's been in the industry since, I remember, going years back at a trade show where one of the companies was giving away like tiny little pixie footballs. If you could actually initiate a call, you win a prize. And it's now everything's just so easy. Tell me your take about, how we're coming out of this pandemic, returning to the new version of an office, hybrid working. What are your thoughts about all this?
It's fascinating, just the customer conversations we're having these days, but also where the technology is at. To your point, it just works. And people who have been home on Zoom all day, they're really used to that experience, and they know how it does just work. And it's amazing video and amazing audio quality. And you see that time and time again when you join another meetings platform. Take that now as I go back to the office. And it's really interesting, those conversations of, I want that experience when I'm in the office to be as great as it was when I was at home. And so we look at things like around our smart gallery features, by being able to break up all those different participants in a conference room to have their own square. But if I'm in the office, I need that to work the same way. And if I'm one of those people that are still working remote and everyone's in the office, it needs to have a very productive experience. And so you look at some of the new whiteboarding features, you look at what we're doing with Miro. There's some really amazing things that really blur those lines that make hybrid work. And I think we're going to look at this in a little bit, but the hot desking, and it's interesting talking to customers how they're carving out those rooms or their floors. Is it a neighborhood environment where people check in? How do I easily check in to go take over my cube or my conference room? And I do it in a way that's safe and secure, and people feel confident that they can go do it. And we've really been able to deliver on those features. And I think, David, just the thing I see the most is the cost of video has driven down. You and I have sold a lot of codecs back in the day, and we know how expensive and how complex it is to set up those rooms. It couldn't be simpler, and it couldn't be more inexpensive than it is right now.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, and it's an interesting point that you make, and it's a point that I would like to make sure that all the people that are watching the show live and on demand really understand, is that when you get the Zoom Phone appliance, when you put in the Zoom rooms and you deal with the Zoom Phone and the Poly equipment to support it, that's it. You're done. You don't need to get expensive third-party management for hot desking and scheduling and all the other things, because it's all built into Zoom. Now, I'll roll that video that you were just talking about, and there's some music on it, but really not very much else. A couple of people saying hi. I'll let you talk over it so you can explain what's going on in detail for us, how we're taking off-the-shelf Zoom certified, Zoom enabled native equipment, putting it into an office space with people's mobile phone with these other devices, and that's it. You're done. Everything's just coming right out of the cloud. So are you ready to do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's roll it. Let me make sure the volume's low enough because we're talking over it, but you can let us know what we're seeing.
Yeah, so if you notice here, we have a kiosk from Zoom Rooms. So a single Zoom Room license allows you to deploy these different kiosks as well as digital signage without additional cost. And I believe, as we see here on this video, right, we're checking to see the vaccination status, able to easily show that. And then that gives that virtual receptionist, and we'll talk a little bit about contact center in a minute, like, what could that experience be? But now I have the ability to pull up what we call workspace reservation, which now I can see the format, what are the available spaces. And this is where I was talking a little bit about neighborhoods. So it may be that this person's only allowed to book certain cubes or certain areas of that floor because that's where her team sits, or that's where the people she collaborates the most are. And so adding that capability, but if you notice, she just reserved one, used a QR code on that device, didn't have to touch it. But now she has reserved a cube. And when she goes over to that, and that could be a Zoom Room, it could be a Zoom Phone, it could just be an open cube. But here she is at one of those awesome Poly CCX 700s running the Zoom Phone appliance. And if you notice, she pulls out her Zoom app, finds the QR code, scans it, and now this device is hers. And that's going to flash over immediately. It's not like, we're going to download for 5 minutes. We check in, and now, what's my my password? I'm into my system. And from here, you get that same Zoom experience where she's going to see all of her meetings, easy to one-click join, her lines, her speed dials, voicemail. And we just recently introduced things like voicemail transcription that you can read directly on that device. You can do things like call control companion mode, where maybe I want to use that for video or that for voice, and then I pair up my desktop. But this really blurs that line. And we're seeing, I just want a very user friendly experience where I come in hot desk. And when I get there, I want to have that same exact experience I had at home, I had on Zoom. And this is what's really proven out with the Zoom Phone appliance.
And everything we saw in that video, correct me if I'm wrong, everything that we saw in that video is exactly as it comes to you when you sign up for it, when you get the license off the shelf, when you buy the gear. That was a Poly Studio X sitting, right in front of the display, right at the entrance for carrying the virtual assistant. That's a standard CCX phone. That's her standard smartphone, although we have to get her a smartphone that doesn't have a cracked screen, but that's another story entirely. But all of those things didn't require a programmer to come to your site and type code that you're spending, X hundreds of dollars an hour to do, and didn't require somebody to come in and fit wall panels into the room, and it's you just buy it, you have it, you've got it, right?
You're absolutely right. And so, if you think about one of those X series bars, yes, I can put that in, and it's amazing. Great audio quality, the frame, the degrees, so I can sit close to it, but I still got to hang a display. Maybe that may not be the right sound I want. And you can really just take that 5 more steps the more complex you get, versus something that's just right out of the box. I don't have to do anything. Plug in the Ethernet cable or join over Wi-Fi, and I'm done. And there's not an extra license you put on those Zoom Phone appliances. It can be a common area phone license from Zoom, and you have your own user license. You take that over for your device for the time that you're there. Or we're seeing a lot of executives. They want to have the beautiful touchscreen video enabled device. So there's different personas where those fit. And the nice thing about Poly, there's everything in between, right? So we're seeing retail customers. I want to have deck phones and Rode phones. We're seeing low entry costs. So a lot of customers going back to the office are saying, I really need these handsets. These are really old. They're from my old on-prem platform I had. Can I trade those in? You guys are awesome. You do an awesome trade-in program. The new Edge B series devices, low cost, beautiful, right in the price point. And we also have an amazing HOS program, hardware as a service from us. For a couple dollars, you can get one of those devices. Or pay about $20 and you get one of those video devices. So imagine having a video room enabled for $20, something that was unheard of back in the day.
Yeah, and you make the point earlier about the idea that people want it touch enabled. Everything we saw in that video was touch enabled. The Studio X products support touch-enabled displays, so you don't need a separate control panel for them. Obviously, the person's mobile phone is their touch-enabled controller, and you can use that to control the systems. And you walk over to the CCX phone, and it's a touch-enabled display as well. There's no extra touch panel that you need to buy or mount. There's no extra programming. There's no extra nothing. It all just works. And I guess the last point we want to make about this piece of it is that partnership again between Zoom and Poly, how we're making sure that no matter what that user experience that they're looking for is, whether it's an executive or a contact center operator or someone working at a desk, whether you need soft phone, appliance, Zoom room, whatever else it is, there is a solution in the Poly portfolio that works hand in hand with Zoom to bring that out to reality.
Absolutely. And speaking of touching things, sometimes customers now don't want to touch a lot of things, but I will touch my mobile device, right? And so we talked about those Zoom rooms, the companion mode, so you can just run that device from your phone. Is something that we see people love. But you're absolutely right. The full portfolio from Poly is unmatched.
Terrific. All right, a couple of other quickies before I let you get on with your morning. Thank you for getting up daylight savings time. This is our first U.S. daylight savings time show. I know you just recently there was a lot of stuff in the news about a year ago, and then that petered out. We can talk about that in person over drinks at Enterprise Connect. But Zoom just announced their own contact center solution, right? Can you give us a brief explanation of what that is and where we can learn more about it?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Zoom Contact Center was announced a couple of weeks back, something we've been really excited and working towards. And when you look at the contact center and call queuing and ACD capabilities inside Zoom Phone, we've added onto that with a full omni-channel contact center solution. We are in the early days and really excited for those that are used to the execution pace from Zoom. It's only going to get better and better and better. So we're very excited. You'll see this at the Contact Center Expo. You'll see this be a big emphasis at Enterprise Connect next week. But it just adds onto it. When you think about a video first world where we're using the Zoom application that we're all used to, imagine adding Contact Center into that. And the very interesting and unique use cases that we're seeing out there, people integrating through our video SDK into their own application, into their website, and the capabilities we add customer experience on top of it. We're very, very excited. And also thank you, Polly, for working with us on headsets and how that all ties into solving customer challenges.
It really has been amazing to see the growth of Zoom from what we knew it was pre-pandemic to the huge growth of people realizing what it was during the pandemic. And then you start to see the platform grow as you add contact center. You've always had the video rooms. Chat is now enabled. You've got an app capability store in there. You start to see how this is going to be, a real competitor in the market for a single solution for collaboration that sits on the desktop, on the mobile. It's really awesome to see the growth that's happened over the last couple of years.
There is. Yeah.
All right, so
we're enjoying it.
Yeah, no comment there needed. It was just I was commenting about how wow, I never really thought of it that way, but now I'm seeing there's two big players in the space, and everybody else sort of has-beens. But anyway, I didn't say that. You didn't hear that. Let's talk about next week. Let's talk about Enterprise Connect because I've been traveling a little bit. I got to do CES earlier this year, but this is really the first big show in our industry for at least 2+ years. It's going to be great to see everybody again. Hopefully, it's safely. We've got the numbers are down. What are the plans for Zoom at Enterprise Connect, and what's my financial services old buddy Gary Sorrentino going to be talking about in his keynote?
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, I mean, we're really excited. So it's great to be back out in person. We're excited for Enterprise Connect, keeping it in person this time. And so you will see a great keynote from Gary on Wednesday. So please stay tuned. And I know you can join remotely. I believe the last I saw there was several thousand, 3,000-4,000 that were joining remote. But we're going to really focus around a couple of themes. One is transforming the way you work, and then delightful customer experience. And those kind of go hand in hand with video, but also when you start looking at customer experience. There have a lot of breakout sessions, a lot of panels that you'll see from several of our folks like Graham Geddes and Sean Rollin. And so please stay tuned. And our booth is right across from Polly's. And so not only will I see you, David, and a lot of your team, but looking forward to seeing customers and interacting with them, learning what their plans going back to the office and how we can solve those together.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited to be there. As much as the going to Florida and dealing with the pandemic has been something that's complicated over the years, I can't wait to get out there next week. And our show next week is going to be live from almost live from Enterprise Connect, showing everybody what's going on, giving people a sense of what's happening. So last question, Colby, thank you very much for joining us today. If somebody wants to find out more about Zoom or Zoom Phone or reach out to you personally, what do you suggest? What's the right thing for them to do?
I think the best way is go to our website, zoom.us. You'll see Contact Center popped up right there. You'll see Zoom Phone, very prominent, easy to work through. You can find me on Twitter or LinkedIn. Colby Nish is my Twitter handle. But we have an amazing team. So most people, they all know who their Zoom AEs are. I've got just a rock star team of phone specialists, contact center specialists that support those. And so we're not far away. Look forward to talking more with all those customers and seeing Polly next week.
Colby, thanks very much for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you, David.
Okay, so the second part of our show this week is going to be talking about the recently passed, it was just the middle of last week, International Women's Day that happened around the world. And Polly had a lot of activities around that, around inclusion and diversity. And my colleagues and friends, Sonal Bisht and Estelle Jackson, had a chat about that a couple of days ago. Let me give it to you guys. Stand by.
Well, thanks, David. Hi, everyone. My name is Sonal Bisht, and I'm based out of Polly's UK offices, currently taking this call, this meeting, and this recording from my home office. I look after corporate communications, which is everything to do with brand awareness, PR, social media, and everything for Poly for Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And I've got today with me my colleague Estelle. Estelle, did you want to say a few words about your background?
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Estelle Jackson. I am Poly's Inclusion, Diversity, Education and Awareness Lead, and I'm responsible for making sure that everybody in the business has a voice, that voice is heard and valued.
Great. Thanks, Estelle. So today we are here to discuss the International Women's Day. Of course, such an amazing opportunity for us to bring out those lovely piece of advice, and as well as any kind of learnings we've seen and kind of share with the audience group here. So Estelle, if you don't mind me kind of starting from the beginning, if I just was to ask you, what made you join Poly and why IDEA is a great initiative? I mean, how did we even come up with IDEA as Poly?
When we merged our two businesses, so Plantronics and Polycom, each business had a real flow in terms of Polycom on the diversity side and Plantronics on the corporate social responsibility side. And I had the amazing job of trying to pull all of that together. We started off really looking at diversity and inclusion. And when the BLM movement hit in 2020, I really started to think about how we could better support our employees through that and through other things in terms of social awareness and social injustice. So I started to hear from employees that they really wanted that education and awareness piece. So we had a rethink as a business around our strategy and came up with IDEA. So rather than diversity being the focus, we made inclusion the focus, right? What makes us the same? So the program is now inclusion, diversity, education and awareness. My background is HR for about 15 years, but inclusion and diversity from a personal point of view has always been my passion project. So I was very lucky when I came to Poly to be given the chance to really lead the strategic program. And Poly have always been incredibly supportive of that as a culture and part of our DNA. So yeah.
Are there any examples you can share with us how Poly enables their employees to really overcome the challenges, the bias in the industry, specifically in the UC industry? Are there any biases? Do we have any challenges?
Goodness me, absolutely is the short answer. But what I would say is it's something that we encourage everybody at Poly to participate in. So we have 6 employee resource groups, including our Women's Leadership Group, who are running some incredible events for International Women's Day this month. But also we have a lot of allies. So it's very important to build that culture of allyship, which Poly have done a great job of working on. So we run education webinars every quarter. Every employee is encouraged by our executive team to down tools and to spend some time learning and being more aware of the world around them. Bias is something that is implicit in every human being on earth. If you have a brain, you have a bias. So we're not trying to teach employees not to do things. We're trying to make them more aware of those biases so they become more conscious. So we are really lucky that we partner with the Neuro Leadership Institute and our executives really do hold themselves accountable for leading by example and being great allies to not only our employee resource groups, but our business internally and with our partners.
With our partners as well. External enablement is just so important. It's just so incredibly important for our industries, and that we need to chip in our own little bit to enable everybody. So is there any anecdotal references perhaps you can make? What do we do as Poly?
So as a business, one of the things that we're really focusing on at the moment is how we bake accessibility and inclusion into every product we make by design. And really making sure that our products just work for everybody. So one of the amazing examples I can give is we ran a accessibility takeover with Microsoft last year. And the focus of that was really showing people how 2 businesses coming together, so Poly on the hardware side and Microsoft on the software side from a Teams point of view can work together in terms of building an inclusive collaboration experience. So reminding people that things like speech to text and making sure that you have great audio and that you're using equipment that, you know, might be useful for somebody who has vision issues as well as needing a video camera. So our new P5 camera was designed to undock from its base so that you can use it as a document reader. Absolutely game changing for somebody with any sort of vision issues. So it's important to start thinking things through from that point of view, and also showing our partners and our employees how important it is to make sure that we are as inclusive as possible, because it's part of our DNA, right? It's what makes us Poly.
Exactly. I love working for Poly. I mean, our culture is excellent, isn't it? I mean, look at the way we drink our own champagne. Do you think hybrid working has a role to play in this eve of International Women's Day? I mean, how does it all connect? I mean, is hybrid working specifically for the technology enthusiasts, or is it, I mean, what's your take on this?
I would say hybrid working is for everyone. The one thing that I really am passionate about reminding people of when I talk to our employees, our executives, and our partners and externally is COVID, for example, has leveled the playing field for so many different groups of people, whether it be the working mum who now can go and do the school run and school pickup because, you know, she's at home and she's able to do more things and balance her life a little bit better, to the person with accessibility needs who maybe couldn't go to the office as often as they wanted to, but now is included in every meeting. You know, for me, making sure that as many people as possible benefit from hybrid working is a game changer. I'm lucky enough to have just come back from the States, you know, and I was able to take my children with me, and I was working and I was playing, right? I took my Sync 20, which is our speaker phone, so that I could call people from my hotel room before I went out, you know, and I had my headsets with me, and it really did make a difference to how my trip went. So I think technology is an enabler, and hybrid working is a game changer, and I hope it's here forever now.
So, you know, when it comes to hybrid working, it's not just about our current employees, it's also about our next new talent that we hire and we retain. Are there any specific nuggets from your side, Estelle, that we can perhaps take away? How does one make sure that we are fully inclusive when it comes to talent acquisition and retention?
So Poly have definitely spent a lot of time recently working through what does our culture need and want for the future? What are the skills we're going to need in the future, and how do we bring in and attract the brightest talent? And that really is all around inclusive hiring, right? If we don't have diversity of thought, we're never going to inspire innovation and get the brightest minds, the game changers, the get stuff doneers into our business. So one of the things that we've really focused on is, you know, not hiring for location, but hiring for where the talent is. So hybrid working has absolutely helped us there to just go where the skills are rather than being focused on an office location. We've completely overhauled our interview process. So that means a brilliant partnership across the business with HR and recruitment and our hiring managers around the Poly way of interviewing. So we've created an interview skills bank based on our leadership principles, which means every single person we interview for a role goes through the same questions, and they are scored by a diverse interview panel so that we make sure that we have representation from different countries or different genders or different regions or different functions. And that is absolutely checked before we make any offers. And then we work through every manager going through a how to hire at Poly webinar. So really giving people an idea of exactly what we're looking for and what hiring looks like at Poly, which has really changed our hiring demographics in terms of bringing in more underrepresented minorities and changing our gender demographics. So, you know, small changes can make a really big difference. So yeah, we're really looking at that right now.
So Estelle, we've just gone past the International Women's Day. Many congratulations. I mean, it was an exciting day for all of us. But why is it important for inclusivity, in your opinion?
I think that we've got to remember that although International Women's Day, by virtue of the name, is about women, not everyone is the same, right? The whole point of the day is to remind people about different topics and awareness subjects around that are affecting women. So one of the things that Polly did, which I thought was brilliant, was we actually had different functions and regions talking about different women's issues. So, for example, women of the Middle East and Africa did an amazing session on the cultural differences and some of the issues that they are up against in the Middle East that are very different to the issues that you and I, maybe in the UK or colleagues in America, might see. The theme of the day is different every year. So last year it was Choose to Challenge, and this year it was mitigating bias and really looking at how we break the bias. So, we also have to remember that bias isn't just something that affects women. So I hear some really great examples around the business of men in our business who feel like they're a bias, right? So, are you babysitting your children tonight? And it's like, well, no, they're my children. So we have to remember that from an inclusivity point of view, one, not every person is the same, and we really encourage that authentically amazing culture at Polly. And two, it's important to learn and educate ourselves about different issues that are going on in the world. So it was a fantastic day this year. We did some really great stuff.
Lastly, Estelle, from my side, I know we've all had some level of personal experience when it comes to bias and challenges. Is there anything that you think you will say is that one thing that will encourage the next generation or the women in the industry?
So one of my favorite phrases that I know you've heard before and I use a lot within the business is be real, be brave, and be the change you want to see. One of the things that Polly is really driving at the moment is a culture of speaking up. So if you see something, say something. We have some very key phrases in the business like, we don't do that here, which is a very powerful phrase in terms of stopping those microaggressions or those subtle acts of exclusion. So I would say, yeah, you've got to drive a culture of inclusivity and making sure that people feel that they are psychologically safe to speak up, which is something that Polly are really looking into at the moment, is that psychological safety aspect.
That's great. Thank you, Estelle, for your time today. Thanks, David, for having us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Sanal and Estelle. It's terrific. I'm proud to work at Poly because of all the great equipment that we make and all the great services we provide, but also because of the culture of this company. It's really an outstanding place to be. So you should definitely take the time if you're interested to check out the career section on our website, because it really is an awesome culture to be working in, and I have some great friends across the world, and I'm very, very pleased to be here. So in any case, coming up next week, I've got the promo up on the screen. You guys can take a look at it. We are going to be at the Gaylord Palms for Enterprise Connect Live. Give you a sense of what it looks like building the Poly booth, and who knows who we're going to bump into, but it's going to be an awesome show next week. A premiere at 10 a.m. our normal time, and again, we're in the period of time where daylight savings time is not exactly the same in the U.S. and the rest of the world for another week and a half. So it's 10 a.m. Eastern time. It's GMT 1400, and check your local time. Your mileage may vary. Thanks very much for joining us today. For all of my colleagues at Poly, we love that you're here. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, just reach out to me and let me know what you think of the shows. And please join us for the future ones. We'll see you on the next Poly Weekly News.